A couple of days ago, I sent you an article about from the townhall.com. It basically discussed what would go forth from this point on following the Gaza-Israeli conflict. I thought it was awfully interesting and was quite on point. So I thought I would go ahead and go over the article and give you some of my pointers as it pertains to Bible prophecy. Picking it up from what they think will happen after the peace has been established. It says this is not a durable peace that U.S. officials say is the objective. It also probably is not enforceable by Hamas authorities because they do not control smaller splinter groups that probably will not consider themselves bound. The ceasefire will last because the principal parties say so, but readers should expect violations. Both sides will use the respite to rest and rearm. There will be more fighting, but not for a few weeks. And I suspect it'll be longer than a few weeks. So what just happened? After 8 days of rocket and air attacks, both sides can declare victory of a sort. That is not a good outcome for Israel. The situation is much more complicated and ominous than in many decades. Israel smoked out and degraded, for now, significant new Hamas capabilities to attack Israel. In assembling the target intelligence, Israel confirmed details about the volume, periodicity, and nature of Iranian support to Hamas. It also learned Hamas's reaction time for retaliating with long-range rockets, plus the range and accuracy of those rockets. It also learned the rocket capabilities improvements would not be possible without Egyptian complicity, if not outright cooperation. This bodes ill because longer range and more accurate rockets and even short-range ballistic missiles are almost certain to show up in the future inventory of Hamas. Now, this is one thing that you need to also keep in mind is that as these rockets get better, that tells me right there that the rapture of the church is near. Now let me explain. As long as Israel can manage these sporadic, inaccurate, and somewhat archaic missiles that Hamas has been delivering in the past, Israel is okay. That is a manageable threat. But I see the day coming when these rockets will turn into more accurate and a very real population threat to Israel. And that may not be that far away. But at the same time, I also find it very interesting. Of course, I don't believe him, but Hamas's supreme leader, Mashal, indicated that he is now interested in possible peace with Israel. Of course, within his terms. But I think this is coming to a head one way or the other, either war or it's going to be peace. Many in the prophecy world believe that war is inevitable soon. Frankly, I believe that the next thing on God's calendar is the rapture of the church, and a peace accord that nobody's seen coming is going to happen. That's how close I believe the rapture of the church is. Now you might say, well, how in the world could that take place because all of Israel's enemies are in no mood for peace? Well, frankly, I don't know how that's going to take place because the Bible is not clear how it's going to happen, only that it will happen. I do know that this Antichrist that will come about will be a man of supernatural means, so supernatural that at some point in time that he will declare himself to be a god or God, and people will absolutely believe him, and much of the world will take his mark and worship him as a god. So in this instant, you must look through this event with supernatural eyes, meaning this will not be a man-made event. This will be a supernatural event that will defy all odds. There are some who say that I only look at the world of Bible prophecy through the lens of foreign policy and military intelligence. Well, to some degree that is true. And if you look at my track record, I'm fairly accurate, while others continue to be a little off base in their prophetic analysis. But there will come a time when no amount of intelligence or foreign policy expertise will be able to explain what God has already written in His Word. But getting back to the article, I look for these rockets to get much better and for the shipments to get into the hands of Hamas that much easier with the help of the Egyptian government. And speaking of the Egyptian government, the President Morsi, he is having some problems right now since he has declared that his powers will be greatly enhanced, and many of the people in Egypt are now at this point protesting and rioting due to that. In fact, the judges have declared his move to be unconstitutional, and they too are protesting. I believe this will determine whether or not he is the man of Isaiah 19 that many have declared him to be, whether he is humbled or whether he rises to greater power. We'll see. But what did this wars tell us in regards to the Arabs in general, or the Islamic world in general? It says, as for the Arabs in general, Israel confirmed that they remain fragmented, but less so than before as a result of the Arab Spring democracies. Had the conflict lasted long, the role of the anti-Israel Arab democracies might have become clearer. Israel's strategists must conclude that the trend in the Arab world is not favorable to Israeli survival. Hostility to Israel, not support for the Palestinians, is the one issue that can unite the Sunnis and Shiites as never before, now that the Sunni but secular strongman regimes have been replaced by Islamists. As for the U.S., the Israeli tail wagged the U.S. dog, and the U.S. responded with political backing and promises of more military aid. The U.S. also announced that only a single U.S. aircraft carrier task group would be on station in the Persian Gulf region through the winter because of mechanical problems of the USS Nimitz. Now, this is something that's very important and you need to pay attention to, since most readers will know that U.S. combat operations in the Middle East usually require 3 aircraft carrier task groups. The presence of a single carrier task group is peacetime combat readiness. This means that the price of U.S. support for Israel's counterattack on Iran's proxy in Gaza this November is that Israel is on its own should it decide to attack Iran before next spring and beyond. The single carrier is a signal to Israel that the U.S. does not intend to help militarily. Well, I figured that was the case the minute Obama was reelected earlier this month. Israel succeeded in degrading Hamas's immediate capability of firing rockets into Israel. Israel achieved nothing permanent. However, as long as Iran remains a reliable arms provider for Hamas, all that Israel can do is knock down Hamas, and Israel has to keep it at a regular rate. The threat of a ground attack by 75,000 Israel troops is risible. Operation Pillar of Defense proved that the Air Force with Iron Dome can knock down the Palestinian threat without significant loss of Israeli lives. However, it cannot defeat Hamas or force it to alter its commitment to the destruction of Israel with the support of the Arab population in Gaza. Operation Pillar of Defense plus Operation Lead Cast in 2008, which included a large Israeli ground incursion, have shown that Israel cannot defeat Hamas without destroying the Gaza Strip and relocating its population, or alternately, without destroying Iran's support infrastructure. That is a task that exceeds Israel's capabilities without an ironclad guarantee of military support, U.S. military support, meaning at least 3 carrier task forces on station in the eastern Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf. And this is what Hamas and Iran learned. Hamas and Iran learned the limits of Israeli power, confirmed Israel's reluctance to take casualties, learned details about the saturation point of the Iron Dome, and learned about Israeli retaliation capabilities. The 8-day war is thus a turning point because Hamas, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, has proven it can strike at the heart of Israel and still live to tell about it. This is a breakthrough tactical development. From now on, Israel is on the defensive, and the threat will get worse unless a secular revolution occurs in Iran. Egypt is at a crossroads between cooperating with the U.S. to receive essential U.S. military and economic assistance and following the core beliefs of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Egyptian government and of President Morsi will try to do both. Egypt has no capability to stop arms smuggling in Gaza and wouldn't if they could. It has no ability to guarantee a Palestinian ceasefire. Hamas itself has no ability to guarantee a ceasefire. It does not speak for Islamic Jihad or a score of other smaller fighting groups. And frankly, again, they wouldn't if they did have that type of power. The ceasefire will be violated, but for now, the signatories to the agreement will insist the ceasefire is intact until supplies are replenished. Well, I think it's going to go on a little longer than what the writer does, but I think he's, for the most part, has hit the nail on the head. But there are two things that I find very interesting. The U.S. announcing that only a single U.S. aircraft carrier task group would be left in the eastern Mediterranean. And two, the belief that the next round of missile firing out of Gaza will likely be with more powerful missiles and with better accuracy. That may indeed hit at the heart of population centers in Israel with accuracy. If this were to happen, this would definitely bring about a major military confrontation between Israel and Hamas, in which a ground incursion would be unavoidable. And I'm sure many are saying that if this were to happen, that this would bring about the complete destruction of Gaza. But I don't foresee that happening at all. One thing that should be pointed out is that much of Israel's firepower and dominance over the Middle East comes from the United States, meaning that the U.S. is their number one arms supplier. If Israel is to rearm for the next wave of a Hamas Gaza Strip Israeli war, it will be by arms shipments through the United States. Israel does rely heavily upon the fact that these continued arms shipments will continue to flow. And for that matter, so do the Saudis and so do the Egyptians. If you have not seen a recent U.S. foreign aid breakdown, you'll know that the United States does supply much of what the Middle East needs in order to survive as far as military aid is concerned, and other aid for that matter as well, and is a significant player in their military forces. But I'm going to close with that statement, and just want to say that if you have not accepted Jesus as Savior, today is the day to do that. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had a number of people who have gotten saved, who have actually written me and said that they've accepted the Lord as Savior. If that is the case, and you do accept the Lord as Savior today, and it's due to this ministry, please send me an email. We'd like to hear from you, and also to let you know that we're praying for you. This is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.